So we're going to go ahead and get started. So welcome everybody to the Ottawa Swordplay online drill class for January 16th, 2021. You may have noticed if you look behind me that we're in a bit of a different location today. For anyone who's looked out their window and is in Ottawa, you probably know that we got a pretty big dumping of snow over the night and it's kind of still coming down. So I'm shooting from home today rather than driving all the way into the sword hall on potentially treacherous roads. And our class today, so again, you may have noticed I'm not Craig. Craig had another obligation today, so I'll be doing the class in his stead. Our class today is going to focus on the Krumphau and a couple of different ways to use the Krumphau, kind of starting from our basics and working our way up to more complex applications. But before we get into that, as we always do, we'll start with some of our warm-up activities. So please follow along at home if you have space. The first one we're going to do is our foot rotations. So starting with my feet about shoulder width apart. If you're holding the sword, you can kind of just hold it in a comfortable way. It's not hugely important. And we're just going to rotate out until we're facing out to one side. Rotate out to the other side. That's 1, and we're going to do 10. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. All right. The next one, we're going to do our windshield wiper exercise, which is kind of a good fit today since we're looking at the Krumphau anyways. We often call this our Krumphau exercise. So starting with my elbow kind of in at the side of my body and my forearm fairly straight, I'm just going to bring the sword down to horizontal on the outside, back up into the center, down to horizontal on the inside, back up, that's 1, and we're going to do 10. 2, and as always with this one, just be careful you're not bringing your sword down past the horizontal. We don't want that kind of thing. Great. And then we'll switch over to our non-dominant hand, same thing. Down to the outside, down to the inside, that's 1, and we're doing 10. Try to just keep your elbow pretty tucked in to your side and immobilized as you're doing this. We want all the motion coming from below the elbow. I think that's 9 and 10. Great. We'll do our rotator cuff exercise. So for this one, we're going to hold the sword this way in our hand. We again want the blade kind of horizontal at the beginning. We're going to lower it down, keeping it fairly horizontal, and bring it back up. That's 1, and we're going to do 10. 5, and 10. And then switch over to our other hand, same thing, other side. And be careful not to knock my sword into the fireplace here. I do have a little bit less room to work than at the sword hall. 7, 9, and 10. All right. Then we're going to do our thumb grip flips. So for this one, starting in the handshake grip, I'm going to push down with the heel of my hand to drive my sword up and come into this thumb grip. And that's 1, and we're going to do 10. So 2, 3, 5, and then switch over to our non-dominant hand, same thing, same 10, except if you're anything like me, probably this side is a lot less coordinated. But that's why we do this. 9 and 10. All right. And then our last activity, we'll do the single leg squat. This one's going to be interesting for me because I like to hold my sword above my head to balance normally, but given the somewhat lower ceilings in this room, I think I'm just going to hold it like this. Put all our weight onto one of our legs, lift the other leg off the ground, and then we're going to squat down on that one leg and back up. And we're going to do 6 each side for this one, and as much as possible, try to concentrate on keeping your knee fairly stable, which I myself am only doing an okay job of. That's our 6 on that side, then we'll switch over to our other side. Same thing, 6 more. And 6. All right. So that is the end of our drill portion of our class. So as we often do, we're going to move on to a little bit of footwork. And today's footwork is pretty straightforward. Probably a lot of you have seen this a few times before, but it really relates to what we're going to be working on with the Krumphau. So we're going to be working on passing steps followed by a triangle step. So for the passing step, I'm going to start, in my case, with my left foot forward. I'm just going to hold my sword in some kind of a guard. And from here, I'm going to do my hip rotation. I'm going to step forward, and this is our passing step. And then from here, I'm going to step around with my back foot around outside, and that's our triangle step. And in this case, with the triangle step, at the beginning, I'm facing quite forward. And when I take the triangle step, I'm allowing that to kind of turn me so that now I'm facing still a little bit forward, but much more out to the side than I was. So we're going to do 10 of those on this side, starting with our left leg forward, hip rotation, step, and then triangle step around. That's 1. We're going to do this 10 times. 2. 5, this is 6. 9 and 10. And then we're just going to do the same thing, but on the other side. So I'm going to start with my right leg forward. I'm going to hold my sword in a different position because I don't like being on that side Vom Tag with my right leg forward, but we're really concentrating on the footwork, not the sword. And from here, I'm going to pass forward, step, and step around. So that's 1. We're going to do 10. 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. And last one. All right, so as I said at the beginning of the class, we're going to be looking at the Krumphau, and we're going to start off by looking at the Krumphau starting from the 5th of our 4 guards that are primarily used in our system, the Schrankhut guard, or in English that means something like the barrier guard. And this is a real guard that you can use, but it's also a really handy position from which to learn the fundamentals of the Krumphau. So to stand in our Schrankhut guard, I'm just going to hold my sword in front of me in the thumb grip, and from here, I'm going to take a step back with my dominant side foot, so in my case, my right foot, so that now my left foot is forward, my sword is out to my right side, and I'm still in the thumb grip. So my sword has just come from here, and I've allowed it to come down beside my side. From here, I'm going to drive the Krumphau by pushing down on my pommel, which brings my sword across in front of me. And as I do that, I'm going to take my step forward, and I'm going to end up with my sword pointing out to my left side. The stopping point here is basically where my wrists cross over each other, and I kind of can't easily go any further than this unless I bring my hands up high, which I don't want to do. I want to keep them at about the height of my navel. So that's our stopping position, and that's all we're doing for right now. So that was 1. Let's do 9 more just like that. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, and one nice advantage of using the Schrankhut guard as our starting position is that it sets us up really well to do this from either side. So in order to get into Schrankhut on my left side, I'm going to start out the same way. I'm just going to bring my sword down on the other side, in this case my left, and I'm going to take a step back with that foot so that now I've got my right foot forward and my sword on my left side. And we're going to do the same technique, just like before. I'm going to start it by, in this case it's more like pulling down on my pommel than pushing, but that drives my sword across in the same way. The only difference is, because this is my uncrossed hand side, I'm not going to get that that thing where my wrists are crossed over each other in the same way. So I don't have that natural stopping point, so I have to know when to stop. Don't let your sword go lower than horizontal. The way I do that is when I pull my pommel, I'm pulling it out that way so that I have a natural stopping point. And just like before, I'm going to pair that with the step. So that's 1. Let's go ahead and do this 10 times. That's 10. All right, so the Krumphau is a really good technique. That Krumphau that we just practiced, though, is most often used as a block, which means at the end of it, we've blocked our partner's sword, but now we need to hit them. So one of the common ways that we do that is we add a second Krumphau, coming back the other direction. So we're going to look at that. I'm going to break this down a little for the first one. So I'm back to starting in Schrankhut on my right side. I've got my left foot forward. I can do that first Krumphau like we were just looking at. And then I'm going to drive a second Krumphau from this position, which really means I'm coming back out to this side. But as I do that, I'm going to take that triangle step, which turns my body around. So if I went back to my original facing, my sword is pointed out to my right side here. But I've turned my shoulders so that my sword is instead pointed at my imaginary opponent. So, putting all of that together, we're going to do this 10 times, starting from Schrankhut. I push down on the pommel and take my step. I pull on the pommel and take that triangle step around for my second Krumphau. That's 1. We're going to do 9 more. 2. 5, 6, did before, we're going to do this on the other side. So starting on my left side Krumphau, same sequence of actions, just everything reversed. I'm going to start by pulling on my pommel to drive that first Krumphau, and then I'm going to do the second Krumphau, coming back out to my left side, but as I do that, I'm going to take that triangle step around to bring my sword in line. Let's do 10 of those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right. So, Schrankhut, as I said before, it's a really good position to learn the Krumphau from. We do sometimes use it, but of course, I start most fights from something more like a tower guard. So we can also do the Krumphau from there, and we typically do that passing through our decision point. So we're going to look at that, and to break that down, I'm going to start with my left leg forward, sword on my right. If you're left-handed, feel free to switch this. I'm going to bring my sword forward, and as I do, I'm going to do that hip rotation. And now I'm at our decision point. I'm now going to push down on the pommel and drive into the thumb grip and push my pommel under my arm, bringing my sword out to my left side. And then from here, we can go straight on to the version with the second crump, stepping around and driving it that way. So let's put all that together and do it 10 times. Number 1, hip rotation, sword comes forward, thumb grip transition, cut the Krumphau, and then second Krumphau. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. All right. So, we're going to look at that from the second side as well. So we're just going to start from our offhand shoulder tower guard. And as we did before, I'm going to come forward, do that hip rotation, and come to my decision point. Then I'm going to do that thumb grip transition, which on this side is subtler. And then I'm going to pull the pommel out here, come in with that first crump, go straight into the second crump, and take that triangle step. So let's do that 10 times. So decision point, crump, crump, that's 1. Decision point, crump, crump, 2. It's 5. 6. And last one. There we go. All right. So the last thing we're going to look at today is, so Craig last week looked at some of the going through with the pommel type actions and then snapping over. And that actually often comes up after we do this crump crump sequence. So if we look at that initial sequence where I'm starting in my decision point, I'm starting in my tower guard, I'm coming forward to the decision point, I'm pushing my pommel under and taking that step forward, and then doing the second crump. From here, it's not uncommon that people see this point coming in and they push it out this way. So if that happens, I can go with it. I can go through with my pommel. I can take that step and I can snap over. And in my case, I'm doing a second triangle step here. So the footwork in isolation, I'm step, triangle, step, triangle. Let's give that a try. So we'll do our 10 repetitions, starting from our tower guard, coming forward to the decision point, pushing that pommel into the first crump, second crump. From here, our point gets deflected, so we go through with the pommel and we snap over. That's 1, and we'll do 10. Decision point, crump, crump, go through, snap. 2. Decision point. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. And last one. 10. All right, so that's the last thing we're going to look at today, but as with everything else, we can do this on both sides. So let's go ahead and look at the starting from the left version of this whole longer sequence. So from my left tower, I'm going to extend with my hip rotation. I'm going to step as I do that first crump. I'm going to step around with the triangle as I do this second crump, and then receiving this push out to my left side, I'm going to step through with the pommel and then snap over. And in this case, well, in both cases, but I'm staying in the thumb grip the whole way through this sequence, and I'm cutting with my short edge on this time. So, all right, 10 times through. Decision point, crump, crump, snap over, cut with the short edge. Decision point, crump, crump, go through with the pommel, snap over. That's 5. That's 9, so last one. Decision point, crump, crump, go through, cut. All right. So, I hope you found that interesting. I know for some people that might be more review, but the Krumphau is a really versatile cut, so it's useful to practice it a lot so that we have it ready in our toolbox for when we need it. And I think with that, we'll kind of end the class, although I'll hang around for a little bit in case anybody wants to ask any questions or post them in the chat. And yeah, hope you found that entertaining. Hope you have a great rest of your weekend. So thanks, and so long.